Welcome to the channel. In this video I'm going to be doing a review of the Kingroon KP3S Pro 3D printer. I was able to get a deal on one of these and just couldn't pass it up. I've been looking at them for a while now. That when the KP3S came out, I thought that was a neat little printer, but I did not like that the power supply was external. This version, the power supply is internal, so it's nice. It also has some nice features. It's direct drive, their version of the Titan extruder. It also has linear rails for the X and Z axis. The Y axis is still wheels, but you can see they sell an upgrade for the Y axis. I really don't think it's necessary, and I think it's kind of expensive for what it's going to do. I think you're fine just using the wheels. But anyway, if you like this kind of content, please like and subscribe. And with that said, we'll get to the review. So talking about the Y-axis, this is where the actual linear rails would go. They sit right on top of this. You lose about 20 millimeters from your height. I don't really think it's necessary. Here's your belt. It has a nice tensioner on it. The wheels on this are just fine. It moves really smooth anyway, as long as you tension those V wheels just fine. So I think you're good the way it is. Okay, moving on to the bed, we'll get a good overview of the whole printer here. Let me just say that, I've had Kingroons before. I had a KP5L that I really wanted to like, and in the end I just didn't because it had too many problems. So here's one of the problems with this machine. So here's the bed, and these knobs, you normally want to tension them halfway down in their spring travel. And then here's your end stop for the Z axis. Well, that end stop will not go very far down. So in order to set my height, the bed is basically all the way up. The springs have almost zero compression to them. And that's not really good. I mean, it works, just barely. It does work. So I'm going to have to come up with a solution to fix this, but that's one thing to keep in mind. Okay, this is your runout sensor. And there's a little problem here. It's not too bad, but it might be an issue later on. Anyhow, the filament coming out of this runout sensor goes through a little hole in this metal plate, and they don't quite line up, and then it goes on into your reverse Bowden tube. So that might be a problem with filament wear. We'll have to see. Here you can see your linear your linear rail for the Z axis. This is nice, that they put this on here because you get really smooth action. Moving on to the hot end, you can see that there's a nice big fan. I think it's a 50-15. Here's your linear rail that the X rides on. And like I said, this is a nice big fan. Works really good. This shroud is printed, and they didn't do a great job of printing it. I mean, it works, don't get me wrong. It's just it doesn't look the best. So I might have to reprint that later on. Again, just completely aesthetics. So here's a better view of the actual hot end. I removed the fan shroud. It's just a standard V6 hot end. There's really nothing special about it. Now I did put a silicone sock on here. Kingroons do not come with socks for some reason. You would think that now that they would be just standard, but they don't come with them. Here's a better look at the extruder. It's a Titan style extruder. I guess Titan clone. Now they give you this, reverse Bowden tube, and I would suggest you use it. I've seen filament, just by rubbing against the plastic, eat through that plastic. So definitely use this reverse Bowden tube. Okay, so the last thing we'll look at before we get into some actual prints is the interface. It's a nice little touch screen. It's easy to see, but there's not a whole lot going on here. It's a nice leveling system. It's really very basic. I mean, you can get everything done, don't get me wrong, but it is very basic, very, very basic. And you know, it's got an MKS board and an MKS Robin Nano in it, and it's running this MKS branded, you know, Marlin that they've tuned a little bit. So just keep that in mind. It's very basic and very old, so it's missing a lot of new features. Okay, so this is our first print. Now the card that you get with this, all of the models are labeled in Mandarin, I guess, or they're Chinese. So I had no idea what I was going to print. As you can see, it's actually turning out to be a benchy, so let's see how it turns out. Okay, so I mean, the benchy looks pretty good, and we've got some crazy adhesion going on here. But this is using the filament that actually came with the printer. You know, it's that standard white. But as you can see, I mean, I think it looks okay. Yeah, I mean, it's not bad at all. There's a little bit of stringing you can see. You know, and again, this is the done G-code that's on the card. There's a little stringing there, but all in all, it's an acceptable looking print. I don't think there's anything wrong with it at all. So yeah, this might actually be a nice little printer. All right, so let's move on to the next print. Alright, so here's our little Marvin keychain. Let's see how this guy turned out. I mean, he looks really, really good. Really good. You can always tell around the loop, you know, how well things are going to be, because that's normally where things go south. And this one looks really nice. Yeah. All in all, I'd say there's a little stringing there, but all in all, I'd say that's a really, really acceptable print. Cool. Let's move on to the next one. Let's see what we get. Alright, so here's the little calibration cube. And this bed, you know, it's glass. It works really well. So our cube looks pretty good. It's not perfect, but I mean, keep in mind this, you know, there's been absolutely zero tuning. This is pre-done G-code that came with the card, you know, that came with the printer. But it's not too bad. There's some weird lines on it. I'll have to, you know, again, it isn't tuned, but all in all, it doesn't look bad. for, you know, just turn it on and print it. And there you can see the bed is really nice. It has really good adhesion to it. Alright, let's see how we did here. You know, it's always interesting when you get a new printer and you pop that card in. You never really know what you're going to get. I've seen all kinds of models on some of these things. But yeah, there's some overhangs that didn't look too great right there. And then there's a bit on the bottom that doesn't really look that great. Not sure what happened there. All in all, I think it's a great looking model. I don't even know that I've ever printed this one before, and I think it turned out really good. The bed, by the way, has crazy adhesion, almost too good. But yeah, this is turning out to be a nice little printer. Can't wait to get it tuned up. Okay, so I've printed everything that was on the card, so let's go into Cura. This is Cura 5.4, by the way. And I tried to add the Kingroon KP3S Pro because there is one in here. However, you can't set a nozzle size, it just says empty. So I'm assuming there's something wrong with the profile or whatnot. So what I'm going to end up doing, or what I've done already, is I just added KP3S and then I modified it to have the right size, because you know the Pro is a little bit bigger than the KP3S. KP3S is 180 by 180. The Pro is 200 by 200. So anyway, I just modified that existing one, so I think we should be good. And you know, the Kingroon KP3S profile actually works, so we'll use that for slicing. So anyway, I'm going to add a hex cube, which is one of those prints I really like to do to give you an overall idea on how, you know, the printer is going to function. Now, I haven't modified this profile in any way. This is just the standard default one that you're going to get with KP3S. So, you know, keep all of that stuff in mind. None of this stuff has been modified in any way or tuned in any way. So let me save this model and then we'll print it out and see how she looks. Okay, so that turned out pretty good. Yeah, like I said, I really like this model because I think it's, you know, it'll show you how things are going to go. I still get this weird skin. I'm not exactly sure about that one, but like I said, this isn't really tuned yet. You know, this is the standard profile that you're getting out of Cura. But yeah, this turned out really good. Really good. Yeah, I mean, so far, there are a couple problems, but I'm really, really liking this printer, especially for its size. Cool. Okay, so that's pretty much it. What are my thoughts on this printer? Well, I like it. I think it does a pretty good job of printing, especially for its price point. And it has some really nice features. But there are a couple of problems, but all in all, I think it's a great deal. Again, at the price, can't really beat it. However, this issue with the end stop, that needs to be sorted out. And then, I've got the issue with the filament coming out of this metal plate. I don't see any shavings or anything there, so maybe that isn't going to be a problem. I'll keep an eye on it. But all in all, I would give this thing, at least a thumbs up. And we'll see how it turns out, a little further on. But anyway, if you like this content, like and subscribe, and stay tuned for more. Like always, happy printing.